It has been a wild couple of days in crypto. Today, especially, I mean, absolutely massive green bubbles everywhere. Now, of course, this does not quite make up for the past several months of pain and misery that we've been through, but it's been a really, really good sign. And we're seeing a lot of interesting things happening in the market that I do think actually provide a little bit of inspiration as to what could be coming a little bit later on in the coming weeks, months, years, who knows. But I think people are they're finally kind of past that like peak level of uncertainty and pain and fear and all this type of stuff, and they're finally getting back to the point where we're starting to see just how bullish everything is looking long term and from a fundamental perspective. So I want to talk a little bit about that today. Also, as we mentioned in the title, there's one sector that has really just been absolutely smashing it. So I want to talk about that as well, because I do think that we really should be paying attention. We saw it kick off a couple months back. I do think we could be seeing it coming back around again. So I want to talk a little bit about that. Now, before we do that though, let's go on ahead. We'll check out the crypto bubbles. As we can see, massive green bubbles basically everywhere. Really, really good day so far. We're seeing Bonk up about 27%, Immutable up almost 30%, SWE or almost 40%, excuse me, SWE almost up 30%. I mean, tons and tons and tons of green bubbles everywhere. Things looking really good. And what we can actually see is we're all green everywhere. So green week, we're a green month, and now we are also a green year. Now, what you might quite obviously notice is that the month and the year is still very, very red. We are seeing a lot of red coins here still. We're just seeing kind of some of the greens being a little bit more, a little bit greener than the reds are red. So that's kind of what we're starting to see on the month and the year. So definitely still a little bit to go, especially if we look at the year. We can see, SUI doing quite well, Tron doing well, obviously XRP doing very, very well, Onyx Coin doing very, very well, HBAR. But there's a lot of others that are not really doing well. I mean, we're seeing, ICP down 65%, NEAR down 65%, Aptos down 48%, Polygon 70%, WorldCoin almost 85%. I mean, just lots of, and honestly, probably more notable than anything else, Ethereum down 44%. So a lot of coins still have some ways to go. Definitely not even anywhere close to an alt season at this point yet. We are seeing a little bit of some jumps though, which is nice. Do just keep in mind that a lot of these pumps that we are seeing are not even close to where we were even just a couple of months ago. So that's important to note. But if we do look at the chart here, we can see things running and things looking pretty nice. If we do look here at the P&Ls, we have obviously XRP doing quite well. SUI also up over 100%, XRP over 160%, Ondo up about 12-13%. Bitcoin positions still down a little bit, but that's why we just go low leverage. I'm very, very confident that we will see Bitcoin continue to kind of come back up, and I'm not particularly worried about this one. And then we also do have some other really strong positions that are kind of offsetting that at this point in time. We can see SUI, we got in here. I can't remember exactly when we got in here. We've been holding this one for a while though. So we can finally see that it's finally started to take off, which is really, really nice. Might be securing some profits here just because it is always a good thing to do. When we start to see pumps like this, we are up 2x on both XRP and SUI. So not necessarily a bad idea to kind of get started on taking some of those profits, because usually, as we've talked about before, particularly we can see in this time frame, if we go to full screen, we can see two things that are really important here. First off, RSI is massively, massively overbought, sitting at a 91.5. 70 is overbought. So this is incredibly overbought. And then we can also see here on the Bollinger Bands, where we've been pushing this Bollinger Band for hours now, almost even days probably. And so this is another thing that's very likely going to return to the mean. We can see here price at about $2.88. We can see here about $2.52 is back where that mean is, and then the bottom side being about $2.16. So lots and lots of room for us to kind of fall back down, and I do think that that's something we probably will see. Now again, this doesn't mean I'm bearish on SUI. All this does mean is we might be able to pull, let's say 50% profits here, come back to this level, and then we could re-enter, or maybe we even wait for this level level and re-enter again, and we're essentially just getting more SUI for the same amount of money that we were putting in. So same type of thing with XRP. I'll probably be doing something similar. Honestly, trading on BTCC, you can see this is on BTCC. Trading on BTCC is very simple. If we go on ahead, we will go ahead and we can actually close it if we want to close the full position, or we can see here, we can actually close it from this side, but we'll just go ahead and we'll actually close the position from here. So we'll press the close button, then we'll just take 50%. We can do market price, that's fine. And boom, we're closed. And we'll do the same thing with XRP as well. We'll close half that down. And boom, now we've just taken profits. Super, super easy, super simple. You can see the confirmation coming through up there. If you are interested in trading on BTCC, WEEX, Phemex, I have all those links in the description below. BTCC is offering a really, really strong sign-up deal, a 10% bonus on first-time deposits, as well as up to $10,055 in deposit bonuses. So really, really good option if you are looking for that. Now, moving along, let's take a look at this kind of secret, or I'm not going to say secret because people know that it's there, but it's a fairly well overlooked sector that is absolutely ripping. Today, the entire sector is up 35%, which is ridiculous for one day. So we'll go on ahead, we'll check that out here. We can see on CoinGecko a lot of different things going pretty crazy. We can actually see AI memes and the pump fund ecosystem both up over 30% today. We'll go in and we'll actually take a look at these individually in a little bit more detail. But the thing I want to take a look at here first is the Virtuals protocol. We've talked about this before on the channel. I did want to come back to it. Haven't talked about it too much recently just because, frankly, it hasn't really been doing too much. But this is the type of action that we've been wanting to see. We can see here up almost 40% on game. Disclosure, I do own some game. I do also own some virtuals as well. Those are kind of the two that I'm most interested in within this virtuals ecosystem. Game is more of a picks and shovels type of play, and then virtuals, of course, if the protocol succeeds, virtuals is going to do exceedingly well. So these are two that I'm quite bullish on. We are seeing that they're finally starting to catch some attention. If we look at the charts on all of these, just going completely parabolic, which is kind of crazy. We'll have to see kind of exactly how long this goes. And actually, if we do go back to BTCC, we do have the virtuals chart here, and we can actually check it out. Of course, if I had to guess, we're going to be probably well overbought. Yes, of course, we are well overbought on the RSI, and we are pushing the top of that Bollinger Band. Again, I think not too surprising here. Yeah, I don't think this is anything that any of us probably find particularly shocking, but we can see, obviously, really, really strong bids coming in for the virtuals ecosystem. I do still think that this is something that could very, very much catch a narrative. I do think that we can see this kind of make a comeback if we start to see a little bit of a sector rotation, or maybe even more of a wider, more general alt season. Now, going back though, I think there's something really important to kind of take away from this. So if we look at the past 24 hours, we've got AI meme, Pump Fund, Solana meme, Binance Launch Pool, Cat theme, Frog theme, Boys Club. I mean, Binance Alpha Spotlight, meme, dog theme, Elon Musk. I mean, what is the theme here? The theme here is kind of twofold. We also have Virtuals Protocol, which again is not in the top here, but it is actually trending in this area. So I think there's two things that I want to talk about, and we can see kind of when they're together, they do very, very well. Meme coins still doing quite well. Now, of course, these do generally have a higher beta. So, if the market goes up 10%, we can expect meme coins to probably do 20. And then if the market goes down 10%, we can likely expect them to do 20 as well. However, we look at AI memes, and AI memes seem to be kind of that sweet spot that's doing really, really well, in the sense that meme coins have continued to hold their strength despite being sold off pretty crazily over the past weeks and months. And one in particular is Fartcoin. We've talked about Fartcoin a little bit more over the past couple of days, but we can see Fartcoin already reclaiming $1 billion in market cap. This is over 100% in 30 days. And I think in about 6 weeks, maybe, we've seen it 4x almost. We look at price. We can see here back in about March, we were getting down into the low 20 cents, and we are back well over $1 at this point. So Fartcoin has been one that has done really, really well and performed quite strongly. We can actually see getting back to its December highs. Not quite the peak that we saw in January, but it's back at its December highs, which is a very, very impressive resurgence from what we've seen, especially having seen it come down to 20 cents at some points. So the fact that Fartcoin has done super well, I think, shows kind of the fundamental strength of both AI and memes, and you kind of put it together in one and you get Fartcoin, and it's done incredibly well. So you can also see, Turbo AI16Z, Agent Fund AIXBT, Zerobro, I mean, Goatsius Maximus. There's so many of these, all of them doing so well over the past 24 hours or so. Memes looking like they're going to make a comeback. I know myself being one of them, but there were several people, particularly in kind of that February to March timeframe, that were very, very skeptical. Now, I wouldn't say skeptical, but I would say maybe harsh in terms of how memes have, they stole our alt season, and they were rugs and, all this type of stuff. I still personally, I don't love memes. I consider them a little bit of a necessary evil. I do think they bring a lot of attention. I do think they bring a lot of maybe fun, you could say. But I also do think they kind of distract from kind of the more fundamental purpose of crypto, which is to kind of revolutionize the financial system. Of course, maybe that's a bit of a square way to see it, but that's the way that I see it, and that's kind of the passion that I find within crypto. I do think memes are fun, but I also think that people can unwittingly get pulled in and unfortunately lose a lot of money. It's a little bit more of like a casino than anything else. And so I think if people understand it that way, then it's okay. But I think a lot of people don't, and it can lead to some people getting hurt. But of course, not financial advice. You of course need to make your own decisions, and people getting wrecked in memes is, I think, kind of the perfect example of that. You have to take accountability for your own decisions. And unfortunately, losing all your money on a meme coin can be one of those that doesn't work out particularly well. But I think that's kind of what we can see. And with this, I want to kind of draw a larger thread here. And so actually, if we go back to the crypto bubbles, there's another one that I wanted to point out specifically here, which is Sui as well. Sui has done very, very well in terms of kind of resurging back after some of the lows that we saw in January, February. If you look back to like the month or even the year, you can see here on the month, Sui back to positive, and even on the year, Sui up about 110%. Again, XRP doing quite well, BGB doing quite well, Bitcoin doing quite well, HBAR. Some of these that, I think a lot of people consider to be kind of the leaders so far in this cycle. We can see exactly that. I mean, they pretty much are, right? You look at something like Ethereum, not done the same. It's actually done quite the opposite. ICP, as much as I love ICP, price action has really not been very strong with it. We can see, IMX, some of these leaders from, some of the past cycles really struggling quite hard. And so I think it's really important to understand that when you see these that show strength, Sui being a really strong one, Fartcoin being another strong one in terms of like the meme coin ecosystem. I'm trying to think of some others off the top of my head. Solana even kind of being one from like a layer one type of perspective. A lot of these that have kind of exhibited that strength are ones that I think we should keep a very close eye on. And when we go into a position like this, let's move off of virtuals and we'll go back to Sui. But when we go into a little bit more of like a macro pullback, let's actually pull this up to full screen. And when we see something like this, we need to keep in mind these really, really strong performers. And when we see this type of discount, you can go in and maybe load up on some because you have that belief or understanding or, doing your own research. All of these types of things build conviction. But what you can see is when we start to pump again, they lead the way, right? And so it's really, really important to kind of watch for some of these things. Maybe even virtuals to a lesser degree. We've seen virtuals do very, very well. We're starting to see virtuals come back, leading many of the markets in terms of total return with almost 35% today. Really, really good showings out of a lot of these stronger coins. And so I think the big takeaway from these types of moments is to really look and see like who are the strong performers. And when we do inevitably have these pullbacks, don't just go away and don't just wait for price to come back. Make sure that you're doing your research, you're learning more about these previously strong performers, and you're putting positions in on them if you decide that that is something that kind of works within your own investment strategy and something that makes sense to you. I think we're seeing this on display again and again and again. We've seen it before. I'm sure we'll see it again as we continue to go through. Even if we pull in this very, very realistically could be a bull trap, we continue to go lower. It is entirely possible. The macroeconomic environment that we're sitting in looks to be like we look to be past the worst of it, but there's no guarantees in life. I mean, it could continue to get worse. Realistically, it all kind of just hinges on whatever Trump decides to tweet on any given day. And so with that, you really can't ever take anything for granted. So as we saw earlier on in the video, I'm taking profits even though we could continue to go higher, because you just never know, and you need to be prepared for all outcomes. So anyway, hopefully you found the information in this video useful. If you did, a like and a subscribe, and hitting that bell really, really does help me out. You can get notified whenever I make new videos. We're talking about crypto always in terms of, whether it's AI or how to trade or what's going on in the market, why certain things might be moving certain ways, all that type of good stuff. If you are interested, like I said, like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that type of good thing, because then you will be notified. Also, if you have any comments, questions, thoughts, anything like that, just drop those in the comment section below. I do try to read and respond to all of the comments, so if you have anything you want me to see, that'd be a great way to do so. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.